Okay, here I am for the first time doing this kind of video, basically as a live demo or slash review, because I've recently received my Akai MPC 1000 after it was returned from mpcstuff.com after having some repair work done, some refurbishment. Obviously, you can see that a number of cosmetic changes have been done. No longer do we have that blue faceplate. It's in black now. I don't know if you can see the Q-Link sliders on the side. Those caps are red now. And the knobs at the top are these big anodized metal knobs. And even the jog wheel is a new indented, fingertip indented jog wheel. And the pads, of course, the new multi-colored fat pads. But what's really more crucial in all of this is that a number of under-the-hood repairs and refurbishments have been done. And that's the crucial thing, because these repairs were necessary to address certain issues. The sliders weren't working properly. Some of the buttons and pads weren't working properly due to deterioration over the years, just physical deterioration. So now it operates really well. The MPC, it's been updated with the new version of the JJOS alternate firmware. That's a January 2019 update, which really kind of sends this device into a whole different level of capabilities. I own an Electron Octatrack, and I like to say to myself that, this MPC 1000, when it was first released years ago, was never really intended to compete with something like an Octatrack in terms of its feature set. But really, because of this alternate firmware by this very talented software developer out of Japan, this JJOS alternate firmware really sends the internal capabilities of this device into a whole new level that allows it to compete with groove boxes or beat machines, if you want to call it that, that are hundreds of dollars more expensive. It should be noted too that in certain ways, the hardware of the MPC 1000 was ahead of its time as well, because now you have this whole Eurorack / modular craze that's going on. And the interesting thing about some of the outputs, you can't see them in this screenshot, having stereo outputs, but in addition to that, 4 sub-outs. Those sub-outs are basically DC coupled, which means that you can send modular level signals through those outputs to send trigger signals to modular gear. In the very least, trigger signals. I'm not sure about modulation, CV modulation, but in the very least, you can send trigger information out to Eurorack or modular gear. So that's really interesting in terms of interfacing this type of technology with the modular world. I've been updating the sound set, my own personal sound set, for the MPC, and what I've kind of done that you might find interesting is that basically I've saved my entire splice library on a compact flash card. And actually, when I use my PC, my splice library is saved to an external hard drive by default. So it's not on the PC, and that allows me to use that external hard drive. Even with my iPad, I connect that hard drive to my Kingston Mobile Light 5-in-1 Wi-Fi router slash external card reader, etc. that has a USB port. And once I attach that external hard drive to that Kingston Mobile Light, I can activate the Kingston Mobile Light's Wi-Fi signal, link my iPad to that Wi-Fi signal, and actually access my Splice library on my external USB drive that's connected to the Kingston Mobile Light. So that's just something that's awesome. So I can use those sounds in apps like beatmaker and Cubasis, etc. So that library is also represented on the compact flash card that's in the MPC 1000, and obviously that's a big plus. What I've had to do is on the PC, I've had to go into Goldwave and do some batch processing. I did batch processing to basically match all sample levels to -3 decibels, because some sample libraries will have sounds that sound louder than other sounds. That might be the same for sounds even within the same sample library. What I've also done is I've made sure that all of the samples are 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz, which is standard for the Akai MPC 1000, so that it can read all of those files. I also had to do a bit of renaming of certain files and folders, because if you have files that, for example, I don't know if those files exceed 10 characters, that there are a certain amount of characters that the MPC 1000 will read. And if you have 2 or more files that have the same set of characters at the start of the name, just with a variation at the end to, distinguish between those files, if the first set of characters that are common to each file name, if those characters are too long, I don't know if it's 8, 9, 10, 11 characters, something like that, the MPC will see the first file and recognize that, and you'll be able to import that correctly. But any other file that uses that same prefix, let's call it that, of how many characters, will be interpreted by the MPC 1000 as also that first file. So you have to be careful of that. So for that reason, I've gone in and I've renamed a ton of samples. I think I have more than 7,500 samples on this compact flash card. But I've used some Windows shortcuts like Select All and F2 for rename and all of that, so that I can go in and shorten these sample names so that the MPC 1000 can more accurately distinguish between them, so that I can use all of the sounds as I want, and have access to all of those sounds instead of just maybe the first sound of a given prefix character string. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go through 1 or 2 beats here, maybe just 1 beat. There's really 1 beat that I was kind of pleased with, and I'll just let you hear that. Let's see. I think this is it. Just something I'm working on called Intercept. I have the MPC 1000 internally set to, I think, -6 decibels on output. You can see that, well, you might not be able to see that on the screen there, but it's this, I think, the other mode that shows those kinds of settings. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to crank it up. Out of shot, I have my Amazon tap speaker. Really small but really powerful. And I have some physical outputs, some cables going to the Amazon tap. Let's crank this up. Here we go.